On behalf of the entire Vipra Arts, Commerce and Physical Education College, Raipur, Chhattisgarh, I welcome you all the participants, all the students, all the dignitaries. I welcome all of you. Our, as you all are aware, it's our second day of international webinar, and our topic of webinar is the standing of teachers in providing a stress-free platform for learning during and post-pandemic COVID-19. The entire world is facing and going through the crucial period of pandemic, that COVID-19. And we all are aware, in India particularly, we live in a country where our country is known as the country of festivals. The prime feature of our culture is sociability, and it can be really assumed how difficult it is for us to follow the lockdown, to follow the social distancing, and we are bounded to it, and we are trying hard to face these things. So it is a very natural thing. So the occurrence of stress becomes very natural. That is why this is the reason we have chosen such topic, the to create and to provide a stress-free platform. With these words, I start. I am coming to the point, and I'm starting the second day of our international webinar. I would like to invite our principal sir, Dr. Rakesh sir, to say a few words with us and to share his blessings to us. Dr. Rakesh sir, over to you.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you. The second day of international webinar, again, I welcome all of you, subject experts, research scholars, teachers, and also Professor Usha Dubey. She is our senior member. I again welcome on behalf of the Vipra College, Raipur. On the topic, standing on teachers in providing a stress-free platform for learning during and post-pandemic COVID-19. It is being organized in Silver Jubilee year of the college. Yesterday, our international webinar was inaugurated by respected Vice Chancellor, Professor K.L. Verma, and he stated that how to we face this pandemic COVID-19. It is crucial for all over the world, including all the areas, including the students and teachers. Yesterday also, Professor Chaudhary, Rajiv Chaudhary, and Surajmal Bose gave us nice messages. And for today, we have two experts. They will give how to we stand, how to we face all these problems, especially for educationist community. So again, I thank to Divya, Education Department, and all the participants who are going to participate in our international webinar. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing and blessing us with these beautiful words. Thank you so very much. Our resource person, Dr. Rakesh Tomar from Saudi Arabia, has connected with us. We welcome from the bottom of our heart, from on behalf of all the entire Vipra family, we welcome you, sir. Namaskar. Before I invite him for his lecture, I would like to say a few words about Dr. Tomar. He is an academician, research scientist, applied nutritionist, and marathon runner. He was former assistant director, physical education, Rajiv Gandhi Central University, Itanagar, Arunachal Pradesh. He was former assistant professor, LNIPE, Gwalior. He has 22 years of teaching experience, among which 15 years he has spent in abroad. He has visited more than 65 countries for the conferences, for paper presentations, and other activities. He conquered mighty Khardungla Pass by cycle, the height of the Khardungla Pass he conquered was 18,380 feet. There are many more things about Dr. Tomar to say. He such a renowned person we have connected with. We welcome him with all due respect and honor. He is the resource person for today's first technical session. I invite Dr. Rakesh Tomar from Saudi Arabia for his lecture. He will be discussing the impact of pandemic on education, especially with reference to teaching learning. Dr. Rakesh Tomar, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Divya Sharma, and very good morning to all of you, all the participants, all learned dignitaries who are present here on the screen, and dear participants. This is my, proud privilege, and rather I should pay my gratitude, for inviting me, to deliver my lecture, on such an important topic, which is very crucial, during this, pandemic state. And thank you entire team of Vipra Arts College, led by the principal, Dr. Tiwari, and thanks to also Dr. Professor Raji Chaudhary sir, who actually recommend me for this webinar. And at the end, thank you, Dr. Divya ji, for organizing this wonderful webinar. Thank you so much. So without taking much time, let me just first share my screen with you, and I will begin with my presentation. Just give me a moment. I hope my screen is visible to you all.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah, it's okay, great. So the topic of my presentation is impact of pandemic on education. And such a, we are living in such a crucial time for last, maybe, 4 to 5, months, and I think the most affected, system, if you look at all the other system, is the education. And I would like to begin here with just, with a sentence, with a quote, which you can see on the screen. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. So it's very important, that we have a mind which is not a vessel, right? Rather, we have to ignite it. We have to ignite it so that, we can gain knowledge, and we can, and this is what has been mostly affected due to this pandemic. So we will be discussing that, but before that, this is just, like what we, all of us know, and all of us are, facing this, these empty classrooms all over the world. And I'll give you some data later on that how much population of the, the student population basically are affected by this, pandemic. And we don't want to see this picture like for a long time. We want to come, we want our students, we want our children to come back to these rooms and fill these rooms, with lively atmosphere, right? And again, before I just give you the outline of my presentation, I would like to give one more statement, which I feel is very, very important for all universities, colleges, and even the schools. The statement is, the resilience must be built into our educational system, which is so important. And if we have this resilience in our system, in our educational system, we would have been much better position to face this pandemic. Resilient means how quickly you can come out from the crisis, from difficult times. That's important. And that's where our university, our colleges have to be equipped. Now, I would like to share the example of my university here with you all. If I remember correctly, on 9th of March, in our university, it was announced that from tomorrow onwards, university will be closed because of this coronavirus. that is on the 10th of March, our university was closed. And our university was closed just only for one day, just for a one day. From 11th of March, we all are in online mode, and completely, like it's a complete, full-fledged classes were taken virtually, from 11th March onward, means just a day. On 9th, it was announced by the governments that from 10th onwards, no education should be opened, and just that 10th, that one day we took, and from 11th, we start our full-fledged online system for the rest of the, almost half of the semester. Why it happened? It happened because of the, the infrastructure, because of, the system which was built. So we were prepared, universities were prepared, our departments, institutions, they were prepared, for any difficulties. So that's what we want in our system. I know it's not easy to, easy to happen, that, in all universities all across the world, but we can think of it. We have to think of it. Even if we don't have the facilities, we don't have the resources, but we have to think that if there are difficult times, if there are some situation like this, how quickly we can come out. And that's the example my university, has given, that we just lost only one day of, teaching. Of course, we cannot compare the online teaching with, with the normal classroom teaching. We cannot compare that. But when you don't have an alternative, that's the best option you have, right? And we have to deliver, whatever best we are having at that moment, right? So this is what I want to convey, to all administrators, whether vice chancellor of the universities or whether principals of the colleges, or whoever the stakeholders are there, the governments. So they have to develop the system where we can take on to this crisis, in a very effective and smooth way. Now, we might see more independent learning in post-pandemic classrooms. So what will happen after this pandemic is over? Maybe after 1 month or 2 months, when institutions will open. So we may see the more independent learning, because now these 4 months have taught, even the teachers, the students, everyone, how much how we can take our learning forward. And moreover, this coronavirus has revealed weak spots in every system it has tested. And this crisis is an opportunity for us. So this has revealed a weak system from the government agencies to the local schools to universities and colleges. Now we can identify what are the weak spots in our system, and we can rectify those weak spots so that in future these things does not happen and the teaching does not hamper for a long time for our kids. Now the outline of my presentation for today is I will be dealing in 4 parts. First is consequences of the pandemic on education. Then UNESCO recommendations for online education, then positive impact on education system, and the last I will discuss about support during COVID-19, which is very important. And that's I will take up that in the last, and which is the most important, I feel, that how we can support our teachers during this COVID-19. Okay, so let's first discuss what are the consequences of this pandemic on our education system and how it has affected. As you all know that this pandemic has affected all education system worldwide. So wherever I know, wherever my contacts are there, and everyone will know that they are almost near to total closures, all schools, universities, and colleges. Everywhere, even in where I am living in my country, we are not still sure about our semester, is going to start, end of this August, okay? And still we are not sure that what we are going to happen, that whether we will be starting virtually, whether we'll be starting online again, but most probably we all feel that we are going to begin again virtual classes. So I have a data as of June 7, of course it's a data, quite old data, but still you can imagine that, as of June 7, around 1.725 billion learners are affected due to school closures. And this almost, according to the UNICEF report, this is almost equal to 98.5%. 98.5% of the world's student population is affected by this pandemic. So which is, or you can say almost 100%, right? So this is the impact, what this pandemic has on the education. And this is again a data which is again old data, but still it gives you some insight, this is even older than what I have shown you before. So let's move forward. Now, what happens, when we have these universities and schools closed for a long time? basically it has, it has, effect in many ways. First of all, it's not only has affected the education, but also it has a broader impact on socio-economic issues. And that's why I have seen some articles, recently in Times of India, where they are, the articles were written on that the longer we keep our schools closed, we'll have more negative impact, not only on the students, but also on other socio-economic, issues related to the society. So even when school closures are temporary, it carries high social and economic cost. So the disruptions they cause affect people across all communities, but the impact is more severe. The impact is more severe, and this we can see in India especially, and in many other developing countries, and the countries which are not that much developed. The impact is more severe for disadvantaged children and their families, including interrupted learning, compromised nutrition, child care problems, and consequent economic cost to the families who cannot work. So it has, a cascading effect. I can say that, the school closures are having a cascading effect. Maybe we will see those effects, in larger term, maybe after a few months. You never know that. We are not sure that we will have the same number of student population once the schools are open. We may see a lot of dropouts. There are quite possibility we may see a lot of dropouts, and we may see that many students may not be able to return to the schools. So this is a very alarming situation for, especially the stakeholders, the governments across the world, especially in the countries which are like, developing countries and which are not that much developed. Now, according to one study by OECD, they have conducted a study, and they said that it's not only about, the education. Basically, when the schools are closed, there is an impact, on the relationship with the teachers. So it's very online education is okay, but there is no relationship, with teachers and students. So that relationship is basically hampered because of this pandemic. And this is more important for the students who are from disadvantaged background, who may not have the parental support. There are many students across the world, even in India, who may not have the parental support, right? And they need, like for their own learning, and they're learning at their own. So this online education, online learning has impacted, basically more on this, this type of students. Even the working parents, sooner or later, and we can see that in India also, and many parts of the world also, the economy has opened up and the offices are open, but still schools are closed. So the working parents are more likely to miss work when schools, close in order to take care of the children. So what will happen, if now parents are going to the offices, but the kids are at the home. So this will also again affect, negatively, to the family income and to basically the productivity of the family, right? Now, the distance learning is what we all are talking now during this, this pandemic. And distance learning is, basically, like you can say, the online learning, which has taken, basically, the front stage, and it's, of course, it's very important in this situation to impart knowledge and education to the students. But still, this distance learning, there are, certain, again, we can say that it's not equally implemented. It's not equally accessible to everyone of, all the students. And that's why, of course, this is an alternative, but at the same time, the distance learning is not equally distributed or equally accessible to all the students, across, various countries. You can see, like, for example, there is an unequal access to technology. Now, lack of access to technology or a fast, reliable internet access can prevent students in rural areas and from disadvantaged families. So again, it's not a level playing field. So we'll see the learning outcome will be different for, for the different, different children and kids according to their, area where they are living. So lack of access to technology or good internet connectivity is an obstacle to continued learning, especially for the students from disadvantaged families. Again, so, and even like yesterday, the Professor Babs, he also said that even, in some rural areas, the lack of electricity also. If there's no electricity, sometimes you cannot, learn, operate your devices. And many times, if you are relying on Wi-Fi or some systems where electricity is required, so you may not be able to access, the internet. So again, there are issues, with the access of technology, which is not equally available to all student population. And because, and why it happening? Because, the libraries are closed, right? That, there's no libraries, there's no schools. So basically the students, they have to rely on internet. And basically this has created difficulty to such students who don't have access to this technology. And this digital divide could further widen. This is what we are calling as a digital divide among, the student population in this last 4 months. So many schools in affected areas are finding solutions to continue teaching, but the quality of learning is heavily dependent on the level and the quality of digital access. So every school is not able to, give, a quality learning during this pandemic, because it depends upon, as I said, depends upon, the access to the, facilities. Even if I have heard, and I have seen many students, especially in the less developed economies, they rely on lessons and assignments sent via WhatsApp or email. So the online learning is basically happening on WhatsApp and email. So this is again, a very unequal distribution of, or you can say the access to the technology. So they cannot access Zoom, they cannot access, the WebEx or other platforms, Google Classrooms. So they are just relying only on the WhatsApp or email. So again, the learning will be affected. And moreover, the less affluent and digitally savvy individual families are, the further their students are left behind. So when classes transition online, these children lose out because of the cost of digital devices and data plans. Again, the cost of the device, which device you are using, your data plans, for the internet, all this will have the effect, on the learning. And that's why there's an unequal access to the technology. And that's why this is quite unfair, this online learning, is not easily and equally available to all the students. Unless access cost decrease and the quality of access increase in all countries, the gap in education quality and thus the socio-economic quality will be further increased. So this will again, decrease or increase basically the socio-economic equality, among the population. And again, even if you have the technology, again, from country to country, the latest technology differs. So whether you are having access to the latest technologies or not, this again, further, a question which has to be addressed. Now, the question is not only about the internet access. That's not the whole issue, basically. You may be having access to internet, but the problem is what? Again, that, the devices, as I said, the smartphones, if you're relying on the smartphones to go for online learning, so they are not enough. They are not enough to join video conferences. Suppose if you need a laptop, right? You need a tab or bigger device to do online learning. On mobile phones, you cannot, basically, do an effective online learning, right? So you cannot take the online quizzes that effectively on your smartphones, and you cannot even write essays on your smartphones, right? What you can do on the other devices. So again, other than the access to internet, the devices, these devices also play an important role, and this again, a cause of very big, in all the population. And we know that it's not only about the online education, it's not only about the technology. There are students, basically, many students, they are dependent on campus operations for their livelihood and resources. Now, they are not, all the campuses are closed. And many students, they are basically, they depend upon the campuses. They eat, there. It's basically, for many students, the campuses are their permanent addresses, right? They are living there for 4 to 5 years. Now they have to, move out from there. So basically, many students, they are facing homelessness situation also. There's a loss of income because of the closing of the campuses. So situation is not just only about the education. There are multiple effects because of the school closures, right? Now, unequal access to educational resources. This is another challenge, which universities and colleges are facing. The lack of limitations and exceptions to copyright can also have an impact on the ability of students to access the textbooks and materials they need to study. Now, it's very important. You cannot just simply, take any material from anywhere and just, give students. There are copyright issues, right? So every country, every student, every institution have, different. They access these materials in different way. So the copyright issue again is a big problem, which is restricting basically the teachers and universities and maybe the schools, colleges, everyone to give, the required resources to their students. So again, this is an unequal access to educational resources. And the next one is the nutrition and food security, food insecurity. We know that nutrition is important in mental development and academic performance, right? But many children worldwide, they rely on free or discounted meals at the schools. We know that. It's a very large number of student population, especially in the schools. They are relying, for their food, basically at the schools. And even if they don't get a free, basically, they get a discounted meals at the schools, right? So this is again, affecting their overall nutrition and food insecurity. And when such school close, the nutrition is especially compromised for children in schools where food is provided. Like if you see in India, the midday meal program, it's not only in India, if you see across many, the developing countries and the, underdeveloped countries, this issue is, it's very, very important again. The next one is, then the next impact is on the student learning outcomes. The children and the youth, basically, if your campuses are closed, if your schools are closed, if your universities are closed, then your youth and children are deprived of opportunities for growth and development. Look at your kids, who are at home. They are, there is nothing for socialization for them. So many things they are missing. It's not only about learning, online learning or something. It's basically when you go to the, campuses, there is so much of social involvement, so many opportunities for growth and development, whether it's a physical growth or mental growth or, social growth. So this is what, and this basically will impact your learning outcomes. Whatever learning outcomes you have, you have framed in the beginning of your semesters, those will be affected because of the absence of the students on the campuses. And the disadvantages are disproportionate. Again, this is disproportionate for underprivileged learners who tend to have fewer educational opportunities beyond school. So that it's not every kid has, opportunity, beyond the school. There are many kids, many children, many students, whether, at all levels of education, they basically, depend on, education opportunities in the school or in the campuses. So they are the one who are suffering most. And when schools close, parents are often asked to facilitate the learning. And we know that many of the parents, you are involved with your students for the last 3 to 4 months. So you have been asked to facilitate the learning. And again, this is a problem, right? Isn't it? You may be thinking that, I am giving a good education to my kid. Don't think about yourself. You may be doing that, but think about those parents with limited education. The parents with a limited education and with limited resources, they are not able to do that. So again, as there is an unequal access to this technology. As I said, because of this technology, it's not a fair play for all the students. So this will also impact their learning outcomes, right? Now, and we all know that, students will gain slower during the school closures than in the normal academic year. If the schools are open in normal way, then the learning will be much faster than compared to what's happening now. And the most important is what I said in the beginning, and there are many articles now which are, like seeing these prospects, the student dropout rates. This may increase as an effect of school closure due to the challenge of ensuring all students return to school once the school closure ends. So we'll see a lot of dropouts when the schools are open. Now, disadvantage, and again here, the more problems is basically for those who are disadvantaged families, and the homeless children who are more likely not to return to the school after the closures are ended. And the effect will often be lifelong disadvantaged from the lost opportunities. So this is not just the impact on these 3 to 4 months. This impact, as I said, may have a cascading effect even for the lifelong, maybe. You never know that. So we will see in maybe after 3 months, 4 months, or 5 months, there will be many studies will come up, with these things that we'll be losing many children, and their impact will be, in multiple ways. So schools are basically, as I said, they are the hubs of social activity and human interaction. So when schools are closed, many children and youth misses out on social contact that is essential to learning and development. So this is what, again, we are missing, and this will also impact your learning outcomes. Okay, so these were the consequences which we have discussed. The consequences can be, as I said, it can be on the access of the technology, unequal access, on student learning outcomes, and all other things. Now, what UNESCO has now made, some recommendations for engaging in online learning. So I think still we are in an online learning mode, and we don't know how long we have to be in this online learning mode. So I think we have to keep these points in mind when we are engaged in online learning. So all the teachers, whether you are at the school levels or whether you are at university and college level, these points are important for you to impart online education to your students. Now, the first one is, which is recommended by UNESCO, is the examine the readiness and choose the most relevant tool. That's very important. And that's what, yesterday also Professor Babs, he emphasized, if you remember his lecture, that it's very important that you should be prepared, before the class, before you enter, you should choose the relevant tools, which is important, for the type of your lecture. Okay, like it can be like use of high technology, it can be use of a low technology solutions based on the reliability of local power supply. So you have to see, what is the situation, what is the internet connectivity available in your area, and what are the skills you are having, or your teachers are having, the digital skills. Accordingly, you can choose the technology. If you choose a high technology and your internet connectivity does not respond to that, so then you will be, left out in a mess, right? So you have to choose a technology which, suits according to the requirements of your, the access you have in your area. Okay. And it can be like, you can integrate all those like digital learning platforms, the video lessons, even maybe like broadcasting through radios and TVs. So we have to choose the technology according to the requirements and the feasibility at your place. The second one is ensure inclusion of the distance learning programs. So inclusion is very important. So implement measures to ensure that students, including those with disabilities or from low income backgrounds, have access to distance learning programs. So don't choose a program which only from 20 students in your class, only 10 can have access to it. Don't choose such technology or such, such platforms where everybody does not have equal access. So it's very important that you include every student, whom you are teaching, especially, focusing, on the students from low income backgrounds. Okay. And especially, you never know that they may be having a limited access to the digital devices also. So you have to see, we cannot just say, okay, you have to choose a particular device. So choose a program where every student can be included. Okay. Then third is protect your data privacy and data security. This is very important again. And I think this point has been discussed, long, when these platforms were used. So assess data security when uploading data or educational resources to the web spaces. Whenever you're uploading, material, to your websites or on any other platform you're using, always check for your data security, as well as when sharing them with other organizations or individuals. So ensure that the use of applications and platforms does not violate students' data privacy. So this is very, very important. And this data privacy is given very much importance across the world. Then number 4, the recommendation is prioritize solutions to address psychological challenges before teaching. Psychosocial challenges before teaching. So mobilize available tools to connect schools, parents, teachers, and students with each other. Create communities to ensure regular human interactions. Enable social caring measures and address possible psychosocial challenges that students may face when they are isolated. So it's very important to address the psychosocial challenges also, when you are teaching. Then next one is provide support to teachers and parents on the use of digital tools. So just organize. So it's not that you just tell the parents, okay, we are using this platform, or your school tell the teachers, okay, use this platform. It's not like that. So it's very important that you organize a brief training or orientation session, both for teachers and parents, as well as, and also, the monitor and, monitoring of these, these sessions or these platforms is very, very important. So help teachers to prepare the basic settings such as solutions to use of internet data if they are required to provide live streaming of lessons. So proper orientation and training for teachers and parents are required before you implement any such online, online learning, program. The number 6 is plan the study schedule of the distance learning programs. So organize discussions with stakeholders. It's not this you just randomly start the program. It's not like that. So you have to hold discussion with the stakeholders to examine the possible duration of school closures and decide whether the distance learning program should focus on teaching new knowledge or enhance students' knowledge, of prior lessons. So it's not that you just start, okay, we have to cover this syllabus, we have to cover the lesson, not like that. So you have to first assess how long you are. Yes, you have to, guess, okay, we'll be closing for 2 months. So what you can do you want to give a new knowledge to your students, or you want to just enhance, the knowledge which they have gained in the previous lessons? So you have to discuss, this with the stakeholders. Stakeholders are, the students, the parents, and, the, administrations. So plan the schedule depending on situation of the affected zones, level of the studies. So you have to see the level of the students. And it's important to see the level of all the students in your classes. The needs of students is important, and the availability of parents. Are the parents available to, there to help the children, their kids? So choose the appropriate learning methods based on the status of school closures and home-based quarantines. So you have to, whenever, the point here is that whenever you are planning such distance learning programs, you have to take into consideration all the aspects, not just we have to give a program, So you have to consider all the aspects from the point of view of the learning, from the point of view of the students, okay? Number 7 is blend appropriate approaches and limit the number of applications and platforms. So blend tools or media that are available for most students. So use those platforms which is available for most of the students, both for communication and lessons, and for basically asynchronous learning. So avoid overloading students and parents by asking them to download and test too many applications on platforms. Don't do that. Decide which you want and just give only one application, whichever is suitable to you. Don't just like overload the parents. Don't try testing too many applications. You never know. Maybe some of the parents, some students, they don't have that much data, in the data plans. So we have to look at the point of view from the students, and like all the students should be at the same level. Then number 8 is develop distance learning rules and monitor students' learning processes. So define the rules with the parents and students on distance learning. So it's not that, so there are certain ways when how you have to deliver the learning, online learning, how you have to make sure that the students are learning, the effectiveness of it. Accountability is very important. So design, so the important thing is the design the formative question, design formative questions, test or exercise to monitor closely students' learning process. Our students, you have to make sure that students are there on the screen. They are not just logged in and away from the screen. So you have to devise your program in such a way that you will make sure that the students are there on the screen and they are listening to you. Otherwise, what will happen? The students will log in and they will just go away from you, because you cannot have everybody on the screen with the face. Sometimes the cameras will be off. So you have to design a way so that you can check their presence, you can check their learning process while they are online with you. So try to use tools to support submissions of students' feedback and avoid overloading parents by requesting them to scan and send students feedback. And that is again, one more very important, which I also feel many times, that the teachers basically, they ask students, okay, you take the print of this, you scan this. And so it's a hell lot of work basically for the parents. And as I said, every student does not have such facilities, at their disposal, right? So we have to make sure that you don't overload parents, you don't overload the students when you are delivering online learning. Number 9 is define the duration of distance learning. It's based on your students' self-regulation skills. So it's very important that you can see it's how long it is required. It's 20 minutes or 40 minutes, depends upon the level of the students, whether they are primary level, secondary level, or university students. So according to that, you decide the number of minutes. Then create communities and enhance connection. Okay, so create communities of teachers, parents, and school managers to address the sense of loneliness or helplessness and facilitate sharing of experience and discussion on coping strategies when facing learning difficulties. So when you create such communities, you can solve many problems, which will arise because of this online learning. So these are like some 10 recommendations which are given by UNESCO to facilitate online learning during this pandemic. Now, what are some of the benefits you can get from this COVID-19? Of course, we have discussed that these are some of the impacts mostly on like negative impacts on your academic, on your teaching and learning. But there are some, as I said, every crisis comes with some opportunity, right? So this crisis also comes, have come with opportunity. So let's discuss, some of the benefits, or some of the outcomes, positive outcomes, of this crisis is. The first is education. It is now when you push to change, basically, and this could lead to a surprising innovations. And that's what we are seeing. There are negatives, but there are so many positives also. Now, the slow pace of change in academic institutions globally is lamentable, with centuries-old lecture-based approaches to teaching, entrenched institutional biasness, and outmodel classrooms. Now, this COVID-19 has become a catalyst for educational institutions worldwide, yes, everywhere, to search for innovative solutions in a relatively short period of time. Even like I'm proudly saying that my university now, we in these last 4 months, we have a lot of deliberations and we have changed curriculums. We are redesigning everything and we are rethinking. So we are innovating. So this pandemic has, basically, forced educationists to think, to innovate solutions, where you can, facilitate learning in a short period of time. So there's so many positives also are coming because of this COVID-19. Students at some schools, I know, I have shared one article, recently where, especially the physical education has been affected a lot because of this pandemic. But at the same time, if you ask me, or if you ask many people, if you ask me also personally, we have given the full half semester, almost like 8 weeks of online, classes for physical education, and effectively, we did it very effectively. Even if you ask me, my son, where he is studying, they did their, all PE classes very effectively. So this is an example, which, I just, here on the screen, that basically students at some schools began leveraging online learning even for subjects such as physical education. Now, students shot and sent over their own videos of athletic training and sports to their teachers as homework. And this is pushing students to learn new digital skills. So one student's parent remarked, I'm just quoting because I just got this, and it's important for everyone else to learn. While the sports exercise took a few minutes, my son spent 3 hours. So it's okay. He has to just, just few minutes to do the exercise and upload the video. But the parent said, my son spent 3 hours shooting, editing, and sending the video in the right format to his teacher. So there is a learning going on. So if physical education teachers can do this, I think everyone can do that. And this is, if I'm sure many PE teachers are listening to me, and some of the PE teachers may be asking these questions to me, how we can have online physical education classes. So this is an example for you. You have to be innovative. That's your responsibility as a teacher, how you can impart, the PE in an effective form in online format also. So it can be done. And the traditional in-person classroom learning will be complemented with new learning modalities. So this is another positive what we'll be seeing, especially after, this pandemic. From live broadcast to educational influences to virtual reality experiences. So learning could become a habit that is integrated into daily routines, a true lifestyle. So this is what, we are going to see post COVID-19. Now, the public-private educational partnership could grow in importance. So this is again, there will be a partnership between the governments. This includes the governments, publishers, educationists, technology providers, telecom network operators. They will be coming together to utilize the digital platform as a temporary solution to this crisis, right? And this is what is happening. So in emerging countries where education has predominantly been provided by the government, this could become a prevalent and consequential trend to future education. So we may see some good thing coming up, post-COVID, especially a partnership between public and private educational institutions, right? The rapid spread of COVID-19 has demonstrated the importance of building resilience. What I said in my first statement, my opening statement was about resilience. So again, we will be seeing that the institution, the universities and colleges, they build a system where they can, come out of these difficult times in shortest possible times. And this pandemic is also an opportunity to remind ourselves of the skills students need in this unpredictable world, such as informed decision-making, creative problem solving, and perhaps above all, adaptability, right? So other than negatives, we cannot always talk about negatives. There are so many positive things happening, with our kids also. They are becoming more creative. And then, as I said, the most important word is adaptability. That's very important. And that's, I think, they will carry long in their career. So to ensure those skills remain a priority for all students, resilience must be built into our educational system as well. So the universities and colleges should come forward and develop such system. Then the shift to the online education has been accelerated. Now we will see, this is in coming months, this will be again, this will take on with more speed basically. And we will, what will happen once a school opens, maybe it may take some time, maybe 6 months, 7 months, maybe 1 year, but we may see a hybrid learning. So like we'll see now the normal, your normal education will be combined with the online education probably to give you a better learning, and you will see a hybrid learning, in coming months or coming years. Education will see more tutoring. And this flipped classroom concept, we are using, like why I said, when I said in the beginning where I start with the example of my university, that we shifted to this online mode just in 1 day. Why? Because we are already we are implementing these, these future skills like flipped classrooms, peer-to-peer mentoring. We are using that in our classrooms already. Of course, not in a very wide way, widespread way, but we are using that. We are getting trained every year. We are having a workshop, all the teachers, faculty members, we are getting trained, on how to, what is integrated learning, the flipped classrooms, peer-to-peer mentoring, active learning, all those things we are doing in our classes. And that's why we are able to adapt, to this online mode very, very quickly. So education will see more tutoring, as I said, a flipped classroom and more adaptive learning opportunities in the future. The future of education will see more peer-to-peer mentoring and adaptive learning. So this is one of the positive outcomes, what we are going to see, in coming months. Okay. Now the last one is maybe another 10 minutes I will take, supporting teachers during COVID-19. So the support your teacher resilience to ensure teacher effectiveness. So our teachers, all the teachers, whether at any level you are working, so teachers are working very hard. Remember, many teachers, they are not that equipped. They are not that much, like you can say, capable of handling, this online mode. They are not that much used to, handle, these devices and work on internet and all that. But still, they adapted, and they are making sure that they are able to give, the required material, which is required, for the online learning. So they are doing their job in a best possible way. So support teacher resilience to ensure teacher effectiveness. The school systems must protect teacher jobs and salaries so that there is a motivated workforce ready to get students back to speed when schools reopen. And I don't think this is happening, but still there are some some complaints about that. So it's very important that the teachers' jobs and their salaries should be taken care of, so that when the students come back, they are in that motivated frame of mind. So enhancing teacher intrinsic motivation and minimizing the burnout is also very important. So every school, university, and colleges, they have to make sure that they keep their teachers motivated enough through this period. So in the long term, specialized counseling units can support. So we can have a specialized counseling units not only for the students. We should have this type of counseling units also for your teachers. We always forget about teachers. Just look at your teachers, how much in psychological stress they could be. It's not only during online classes, but in your normal regular classes also. So in long terms, there should be some specialized counseling units that can support teacher well-being. So the teacher well-being is very important. If the teacher well-being is not taken care of, how can you take care about the student well-being? So the teacher well-being should be on on priority basis for all the institutions, and whether it is at the school level or at the university levels. The next one is support teachers instructionally to ensure teacher effectiveness. So teacher must be equipped to assess students once they return to school, so they can identify what key content and skills have been lost and need rebuilding. So this is very, very important. So teachers will also need professional development support to undertake effective remedial education. So as a school system settles, the focus must return to ensure that all early grade children are proficient readers, the foundation for all subsequent learning, which is very important. And for this, to happen all this, the teachers will require support to master their ability to deliver high quality early grade instructions. So it is very, very important again for all the institutions to see that their teachers are supported with all required instructions. It's very, very important. And the last one is support teachers technologically to ensure teacher effectiveness. And this we have discussed a lot in the whole. So the countries and school systems that have weathered COVID-19 more successfully have also ensured that teachers have access to technology. If we give example of countries that in such countries they have managed this thing very effectively because their teachers have the access to the technology. So you have to make sure that your teachers are technologically sound so that the effectiveness is improved. So this is an example I'm just quoting here. As a school closed in the the Czech Republic, for instance, teachers were provided free SIM cards. This is just an example. So they have provided their teachers free SIM cards to access educational material online and the WhatsApp. But it is not just about providing this technology. Teacher must also know how to use the technology effectively. So one thing is that you give access to technology. The another thing is how the teachers can use their technology effectively. So we have to address both issues simultaneously. In Lebanon also, of course, Lebanon is nowadays they are facing some crisis basically, but the ministry has been training teachers to record and upload documents and hold virtual classes effectively. So things are going on. When I'm giving the examples, basically we can implement all such things in our place also. So not all teachers will approach technologically in the same way. They will need to be supported with diverse strategies. As a school system settled, technology should be integrated into teacher learning process. So once these things are over, once you are back to the normal process, make sure that the technology is integrated with the teaching learning process as well as routine needs. So this is very important. So this is by this way you can also ensure your teacher effectiveness. So by this, I would like to conclude my talk here. This is, and I am sure that, by taking small steps, by taking small cues, what's happening around you, every institute, every college, every university, every education institution, you can take required steps to give necessary, you can say instructions, or the learning, to the students. It's not that difficult. Only thing is you have to sit back and think what you can do in such scenario, and you have to come up with innovative idea. As I said, for physical education, many PE teachers, they will say that it's difficult for us, but it's not difficult for you also. It's only that you have to decide and you have to think. And once you think, you sit back, you will find ways. And that's why this period is very important for you to be innovative and for you to take the steps which is required for your own professional growth also, and also for the growth of the students, and the entire community. So with this, I would like to give rest to my talk here. Thank you so much, Vipra College, for giving this opportunity and giving me a patience hearing. Over to you, Dr. Devia, for further speaks.
Thank you very much, sir. We are truly privileged to have you as a resource person in our national webinar, Dr. Rakesh Tomar from King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals, Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. I pay my deep gratitude on behalf of all the entire Vipra family. Very precisely and very significantly, you have thrown light not only on the impact, where everyone is talking about the impacts and the negative sides of the pandemic. The pandemic itself is a negative, but you have shown us the positive side, the brighter side. हम भारतवासी इसे आपदा में अवसर कहते हैं. आपने जिस प्रकार आपदा में अवसर कहा, that is the benefits of this pandemic, how we can get the benefit, how we can see the positive sides. This really makes your presentation distinguished and the admirable part of your presentation, rather I should say. Thank you so very much from all of us, from the entire Vipra family, from our university. Thank you so very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.